And here we are, the final cup of the original and classic 8 cups we have come to know since DS, the Lightning Cup. This episode is definitely going to be interesting as there's quite a lot of standout retros in here, as well as one Nitro Cup out of the 5 Lightning Cups we'll be going over. Yep, that's right, we're not exactly done with Super Circuit yet, as we have one more cup of that still left. But upon that, I hope you guys are ready for what's coming with the retro picks here. If you are, make sure to drop a like on the video. And with that, let's do this thing. Starting off Super Circuit's Lightning Cup is a track that we have covered its retro track on first, Luigi Circuit. And man, what a course this is! By the way, doesn't it feel good to not be starting off the video with a SNES track? Anyway, I'm actually kind of surprised we didn't cover this in any of the 4 main cups, because this one is a surprise hit for a circuit track. I love the rain effect as, unlike in DS, it's actually going at you instead of in DS where it goes down to the ground. Although the DS version is a little bit better, due to the fact that this original version suffers from the washed out palette curse. But that doesn't really matter. Its layout is neat, its aesthetic is cool, I like the Luigi blimp going about as you race. And you gotta love the weather stations in the background. Oh, the music's great too, so for that, it's gonna be our first high B tier of the day. Up next is a track that, interestingly, we'll be seeing twice in the same video, as it's the only track to appear in the same cup as a Nitro track and the retro track. That is, of course, Sky Garden. And this may just be the best track in Mario Kart Super Circuit. And I'm sad this didn't end up being in the 4 traditional cups because, wow! This is by far my favorite aesthetic in the entire game. Like Clouds Up Cruise, I love the feeling of being so high up in the clouds. The music is also great, so it really captures that up so high feeling. And that's coming from me who hates very high places where you can just fall to your death. And one thing I did on my latest playthrough of this course, I used the mushroom to skip a big portion of the track thanks to that ramp that launches you to an item box. Seriously, as much as I don't really like Super Circuit all that much, it can really break the game. And this is going to be a real contest in that which version in this cup is better, the original or the DS remake. We'll have to see, but right now, it's sitting comfortably in A tier, albeit on the lower end. Cheep Cheep Island is one of those tracks that definitely captures the beach vibes way better than Shy Guy Beach did. And that has, well, a layout. I love the feeling of seeing a beach level in what looks to be sunrise. It's really nice, being honest. Especially the fact that you can see giant Cheep Cheeps jumping out of the water. It's a nice effect. The music here, while being reused from Shy Guy Beach, does suit this track well enough. And I do like the part where you go to a boardwalk. Although, can we please stop with the screen shaking nonsense? We've already had enough of that for one game. So yeah, not too much else to say. Cheep Cheep Island is going to be going somewhere in the middle of B tier. And for our final, original Super Circuit course of these reviews, Sunset Wilds. And I gotta say, this is another really fun track. Doesn't really help that this game has 2 desert courses, but I'd say this is the better out of the 2 we got. The layout is fun, I love the theming, and yes, we all know the real selling point of this track. The fact that the sun sets every lap. Obviously, this is nothing new now, because of World doing quite literally the same thing. But for GBA standards, this was some cool stuff. The music is also great as well. And I'm not sure if it was intentional for Nintendo to center the Shy Guy tents around Native Americans, but It's a interesting element, I'll give it that. And yeah, it was sad to see this thing get butchered in the booster course pass, but the original version still holds strong. I guess the old saying of the originals are better really applies to this track car. So yeah, Sunset Wilds is going to be joining Luigi's Circuit in High Beat here. And that was Super Circuit's Lightning Cup. Easy to say that this was definitely the most consistent cup in the game aside from maybe the Special Cup. Sky Garden was definitely the clear winner of this game's cup. Definitely a very solid way to end off Super Circuit. And before you ask, no, I am not covering all of the extra tracks. As what is there even to say about them? They are all completely worse than their original counterparts in every way, shape, or form. But the fact that I've recorded gameplay for them and most of them are going unused really says a lot. But anyways, now back to the retro side of things with DS's Lightning Cup. Well, looks like we have been brought back down to earth with yet another SNES track. SNES Choco Island 2 is what starts off the DS Lightning Cup. And what the actual f*** went on here with this remake? It's almost like a 6-year-old got their hands on it. Sure, the visuals may look a little bit better, but everything else makes me think, what the f*** am I playing? While DS may be better to control, when paired up with the slippery controls, it is not a fun time at all. My biggest issue is with all of the absurd ramps placed everywhere. They weren't as much of a problem in the original, but here, there is no way to avoid going over one of these damn things. Especially since some of them can send you off the track and you're going at the wrong angle. So yeah, not the biggest fan of this track. Easily one of the worst tracks in the game, and it is currently my least favorite remake so far. So the booster goes past, better fucking watch itself. Granted, it's better than Figure 8 Circuit since there's more to offer than that. But this is still not fun. And it's a serious downgrade from the original on the SNES. As such, this is gonna be a D tier course. Next up is N64 Banshee Boardwalk. And it's alright here. Honestly, it's another Peach Circuit situation where it actually plays quite a bit better than how it did originally. Granted, it may look as haunting as it did originally, but I think the DS controls suit this course quite well, I would say. Because before, it was kind of hard to stay on the course because of the, admittedly, kind of tricky controls in the N64 version. But easily the best change this course got was the updated model for the giant fish. It's now been turned from just a generic giant Cheep Cheep into a blubber, which is kind of ironic because Mario 64 DS did the same thing when changing the Cheep Cheep into a blubber. Even if it did it first, but still though. But yeah, this course is solid. So I'd say it earns itself a low B tier. Well, we meet again, Sky Garden. Except now, you're remade. But it's actually a good remake. Pretty much everything I said earlier about this track pretty much applies to this remake. We're still up in the clouds, and all the turns still feel good to traverse. Probably even more so now thanks to DS's controls. And it looks even better now that we don't have the washed out visuals of Super Circuit anymore. And the music even sounds quite a bit better now. Probably my favorite GBA piece in DS, if I'm honest. Really, the only noticeable changes in this remake is the additional jumps that you need a mushroom for. Apart from that, still a very good course. In fact, I'd say this is the best that this course has ever been. For reasons we'll get to once we get to Mario Kart 8. So I'd say this still earns its place in A tier. And at long last, we have finally reached the end of the DS lineup. And what ends it off? Well, no other than Yoshi Circuit. A little bit strange to end the line with a circuit track, but at least it's one of the better circuit tracks, that's for sure. And hey, at least it's not the worst ending to a Mario Kart game we've ever had. But with that said, I still really enjoy this course. The music is still catchy, the track is still shaped like a Yoshi, but I hate to say it, but despite being the same course, there's something about it that is just kind of off in this remake. The piranha plants are no longer in pipes, and the most strangest is the flowers on the hills are missing, which kind of makes it a bit drab. The tunnel shortcut being removed I don't really have an issue with, as I never really took it in the original. It's just everything else. So yeah, kind of a downgrade here, but definitely not as bad as Baby Park's downgrade. And it is a solid way to end off Mario Kart DS, but at the same time, I wish they ended it up with a more complex track. But you know what? It is what it is, and it's still an A-tier track. It's just on the lower end of it. But nonetheless, that was the DS Lightning Cup. In terms of what is my favorite course in this cup, well, it's Sky Garden. Yeah, 2 games in a row, and Sky Garden wins both of them. But Yoshi Circuit doesn't fall too far behind. Well, looky here what we're starting the Wii Lightning Cup with. Mario Circuit 3. But really though, I'm not sure this is a potential hot take opinion, but I think this may be the best looking version of this course. And I'm saying that because, well, you'll see why once we get to Mario Kart 8. And gameplay wise, it's still fine. I will say that the 90-degree bend is a little bit more manageable to handle in this game thanks to Wii's controls. And the music is just as catchy as always, even if it's slightly remastered. But really, why did this have to be the Lightning Cup opener in this game? You could have opened the cup with any other course. But I guess it is what it is. And hey, I'm perfectly alright with this course being in this game. And only this game. Again, for reasons you'll see in a future video. So yeah, still a B-tier course, but still kind of on the lower end of it. Alright, here we go! Not only do we have a worthwhile pick for the Lightning Cup, but also a worthy pick for a Priority DS Retro. Peach Gardens is back, and it's still just as fun to play as it was on the DS. Really, I can't think of a single change this course got, other than the additional ramps placed in the opera at the end. But graphically though, while it may look more polished than it was on the DS, I don't know, there's just something about Wii's lighting that kind of makes this feel a bit off. But that doesn't really bother me all that much. The gameplay is all that really matters. The hedges are still fun to maneuver past, the retextured property snowland statue is still here, the music is still a bop, the chain jumps still make for the fitting obstacle given that it's a garden-themed track. Yeah, still great. And they finally moved the banner of where the start grid is. Good on you, Nintendo. So with that, this course still earns its place in A tier. And the other Double Dash selection for Wii on a high note is DK Mountain. I would have preferred we ended with Waluigi Stadium instead, but you know what? Second best track in Double Dash, I will take any day of the week. Again, and I know I've said this with every other Double Dash remake in this game, this is literally the exact same DK Mountain folded over to Wii, except looking a little bit different graphically and with a few new additions. There's now wind placed over the bridge section, and the biggest changes are the wooden ramps placed on the rocks, which kind of feel a bit unnecessary. Especially since you could have literally tricked off of the rocks by themselves, but whatever, doesn't irk this course. And there's now 2 half-pipes included, although I don't really see a reason to take them, unlike most other tracks that have half-lives. But you can take them if you want to. But beyond that, still a great course. The music is still catchy. The layout is still quite tricky to traverse, but in a good way. The gap shortcut is still here. Yeah, not too much else to comment on. So, I'd say it goes at the top of A tier. And concluding Wii's lineup is N64 Bowser's Castle. Again, while it may not be the best ending to a game per se, I still think it was a very good way to end up the lineup for Mario Kart Wii. Graphically, it looks a lot more nicer in this game. The tops aren't really that much of a threat anymore, which is a shame, but I don't mind them getting nerfed as, looking back on the N64 version, I feel like they were a bit too brutal, if that makes sense. The music is still haunting as ever, and this course did get a few minor additions. Mainly the boost panel round after the spiral, and the last 2 and 3, 2 bad guys are spawned, making the last jump a little bit tricky. And realistically, I feel like those are just as brutal than how the thwomps were back in the original. Cause one touch, and you could potentially lose your lead. And plus, I feel like this course handles a bit better in Wii's controls. Especially if you have a bike, cause you definitely need to wheelie when it comes to the straightaways. But yeah, still a very good Bowser's Castle track. And I think it gets to sit in low A tier. And that was Wii's Lightning Cup and the game as a whole. DK Mountain clears house once again as the best in the cup. But Peach Gardens is definitely a close second. Kicking off Mario Kart 7's Lightning Cup is the final Wii track of the game, Koopa Cape. And, well, it's an interesting remake to say the least. Visually, it's still great. I do like the new rocky textures they gave it. So I would say that this is the best looking version of Koopa Cape. But there are some changes that kind of made me not like it as much as the original. It's still great, but it did take a bit of a hit. At least in this game. The half-lives are removed, which I don't know why they did it to this one, because they felt so needed in the original. The ramp before the street area has been turned into a glider ramp, which, why exactly? This has to be the most pointless glider ramp in the game, not gonna lie there. And the biggest change is with the underwater area. Not only did they decide to flood the section, but they also removed the Koopa Zappers and the rushing water. And instead it's replaced with Chiefs? Why did they do this exactly? What was wrong with the original obstacles? So yeah, kinda a downgrade compared to the original, but it is still fun. The layout's still intact, the music is still catchy, even if they took out the rhythm music. It's still an S tier without a doubt. Just not exactly as good as the original Wii version. I gotta say, this remake of Dino Dino Jungle was really good. Yeah, it still suffers from the same issue I had with the original, that being the lack of dinosaurs outside the one blue one. But gameplay-wise, it's another situation where I think it plays better here than the original version. There are several places that you can trick up them now, like them things before you reach the big blue dino. And you can trick up the geyser holes before they sprout out. They are still a pain to avoid, but still a nice thing to add on. The ramps towards the end are also trickable, and now you can glide either above or under the dino, thanks to the new glider ramp added when you exit the Artifact Temple. And the wooden platforms are a little bit easier to traverse now thanks to 7's smoother feeling controls. And visually, it looks a little bit nicer in this game. Yeah, it's sad that the dinos in the water are gone, but that doesn't really irk the cause. So even if it may not be much, I still think it deserves to go in, I'd say a high A tier. Oh yeah, the music's still a bop too. Come on. You guys all know where this is going. Airship Fortress is back, and yeah, it's still a peak track. Even here. Also to see my second favorite DS track make a return here. But it's funny because it's not only too different from the original, but like several others, don't fix what isn't broken, right? The bad side builds are still fun to avoid, and the music is still just as super duper catchy as ever. Although it did receive a few tweaks, like being able to trick in several parts, like towards the beginning, and it kind of being turned into a glide ramp now, which again, like I've said a billion times, that's to be expected. But the Fortress turn is definitely much more manageable here thanks to 7's controls. But beyond that, still peak. So I don't really have much to comment on with this remake other than it's peak, simple as. So into S++ you go, sir. And concluding, Mario Kart 7's lineup is probably the most fitting finale you could ask for. SNES Rainbow Road. And yeah, this is easily the best finale to a Lightning Cup so far. This was already the best course in Super Mario Kart. And here? Man, what a glow up this course got. And it honestly makes sense that this would be the first Rainbow Road to receive a proper remake. And I say proper because, again, Super Circuit's remakes don't count. I love the new road textures here. The original textures were good, but these are better in my opinion. The ramps that were present in the original are now more prominent and are now trickable. And perhaps the best change this course got is the fact that when the rainbow flumps come smacking down, they cause the road to wiggle, allowing you to get some tricks off of it. Yeah, they aren't as prominent yet, but it's still fun to try and do every single time. And the music is so much more catchier than it was previously, thanks to the 3DS enhancement. So yeah, a great remake, and a great way to end the game. So much so that it deserves to go into low A tier. And that was the 3DS Lightning Cup, and Mario Kart 7 as a whole. Airship Fortress is the best in the cup, enough said. But despite its downgrade, Cooper Cave is still a close second. And honestly, this was a great way to end off Mario Kart 7. But now guys, from the Wii U Lightning Cup onwards, it's all hands on Mario Kart 8. Yep, it's gonna be a long road ahead for this game given its legacy. But let's not waste any more time and jump into the final Lightning Cup of the video. The Wii U Lightning Cup starts us off with Tick-Tock Clock. And man, you want to talk about upgrades? Then, oh my god! This course got a serious upgrade! Obviously, it's no surprise that Mario Kart 8 looks incredible, but something about this one hits so much differently compared to all the others. The bland clock background is now gone in favor of this outstanding new background, which kind of reminds me of the inside of Big Ben. The starting banner is now an actual clock, which is so unbelievably cool. The music is an absolute bop to listen to and is the superior version of the song. And there's now an optional glider, much like Music Park, where you can either choose to stay grounded and trick over the edges of the gears, or just fly over some of them. I usually take the glider every lap, but that's up to you if you want to do that. So, I think that this is probably the best remake from the original 32 tracks. In fact, it may even be the best remake from the base game. So much so that it deserves to be an S+ tier. Okay, whoever is in charge of picking the priority Mario Kart 7 retros for Mario Kart 8 deserves a pat on the back. Because all three from the original 32 have been nothing but great picks. First DK Jungle, then Music Park, and now Firefly Slide. The latter two of which are fantastic courses. And like with the courses, this course didn't really need changing all that much outside the awesome graphics. But the changes it got were mostly good. The best change this course got by far was the expanded underwater section that I mentioned in the previous video. Not only does it make good usage of anti-gravity, but it also looks incredible. And it really adds to the atmosphere of this course. And the remix it got is amazing! But unfortunately, this is the first example of the Mario Kart 8 lighting engine not handling something. That being the blue Goombas. Here, they're just regular Goombas. I have no idea what the thought process was here, but hey, it could be worse. Way worse at that. But beyond that, still the same fantastic courses as always been. Yeah, it is a bit weird how you can only glide over the wall in 200cc, but I don't usually do it while racing here, so doesn't really bother me. So yeah, an easy S tier all around. Okay, interesting to see on a volcano here. What about something like Toad's Factory over this, but hey, you know what? It could have been a worse pick than this. Yeah, this is the weakest course of this game's Lightning Cup, but that by no means makes this track, let alone this remake, bad. Because it is still great. And this finally is one of the best looking courses in the Lightning Cup. Like, wow, does it look so much more appealing than the original. And really, this course didn't change all too much in terms of gameplay. The music still has that dangerous feeling, even though it's one of the few pieces that didn't change all that much. The course still crumbles over time, even though it's just the sides. And really the only notable changes are the additional glider ramps. One on the first octagon, and one towards the end when you take the left path. And a little shortcut that only comes on the third lap on the right side once everything crumbles. Honestly, that kind of makes up for the ultra shortcuts being lost. But unfortunately, the octagons are still not trickable. But oh well, guess you can't have everything. But despite that, this is still an A-tier course. And we bring the curtains down on the original 8 Cups once and for all with N64 Rainbow Road. And I gotta say, after going back to play the original for the Special Cup video, it felt so surreal going to this version because this might just be the most improved Rainbow Road out of all of them. Because it practically fixes all of the problems I have with the original and takes what I liked about the original up to 11. Visually, this course is stunning. The fireworks are still here, and the remixing card is phenomenal. And plus, it's no longer a 6-minute slugfest. Now it's a 3-lap section-based track despite the fact that the original layout is still intact. Most of the guardrails have been removed, and on top of that, the chain jumps have been turned into shot balls, and make for an actually compelling obstacle now. Thank the Lord Nintendo fixed this, because it's now so much better to play on. And I also love how it takes place over a bustling city at night, much like GameCube Rainbow Road. This genuinely felt like a true finale to the original 32 Wii U tracks. Yeah, remember when this used to be the final course of the game? Oh, now it's not even close. But yeah, this course wins the title for one of the most redeemed courses in the whole series. Going from a D tier in Mario Kart 64 to an S plus tier in Mario Kart 8. And that was the final Lightning Cup of this video. Honestly, it was so unbelievably close. in terms of what the best course from this cup was. So, like before, my opinion would change depending on the mood. Right now, my favorite is TikTok Clock, solely because its original version ranked higher. But another day, it'll be N64 Rainbow Road. But it is safe to say that this cup ended the original 8, at least for now, on a very high note. And that, my friends, brings the original 8 cups to a close. At least for now until we get to Mario Kart World. But the big question is, what do I think is the best course from the Lightning Cups we have covered? Well, it's fucking obvious. Airship Fortress, hands down. But we definitely had some bangers in here. With TikTok Clock and N64 Rainbow Road to name a few of the bangers we had. Yeah, I said it. N64 Rainbow Road is in my top 3 in terms of my favorite Lightning Cup courses. And that is saying a lot, given how much I hated the original version of it. So, what's next then? Well, we're still continuing on with Mario Kart 8 courses. But next time, it's on to the Wii U DLC courses. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Adam, you've covered these courses in the past. Why are you covering them again? Well, I have to cover every track in the series. And plus, some of my opinions on these tracks have changed over time. But if you guys want to stay tuned to hear my thoughts, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to stay up to date, and to not miss out on the newest content. Until next time, bye guys.